Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinski, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to 5x3 Radio. We are now towards almost the end of January and returning for another season with you. Rebecca's here with me.
Hello.
Of course. I would not do this without her. I could not do this without her. It would be kind of weird to talk.
No, Emily, you say
myself.
that, but you did do it without me once.
Oh, well, I had someone else talking with me. Yeah,
but it wasn't me.
It wasn't you. And it was hard. It wasn't you, but it was, I can't do this by myself. And I can't believe we're going on 4 years.
I should not take that personally. I can't do this by myself. There could be a stand-in for me.
We're going on 4 years in May that we've been doing this.
Such a long time. For real?
Yes. We started this in May of 2020.
Good God.
So we're coming up on our 4th year, and we still seem to be able to come up with topics related to strength training. Go figure. I mean, yes, sometimes
we have not yet veered off into culture wars.
We have not. If you've come for that, you've come to the wrong podcast. We stick to strength training, getting you strong, and why you should be strong. So happy New Year, everyone. I know I said that in our last podcast that came out because I think we had recorded it before the New Year. Really quickly, Rebecca was just in Spain not too long ago.
Oh yeah, that was fabulous.
Her daughter's doing a semester.
Yeah. And Emily, I was thinking about you when I was there because I think a couple of our podcasts, we sort of talked about the idea of like, how do you train when you're on vacation?
Mm-hmm.
And typically I'm the one that goes to the beach and already has the gym scouted out. And I don't change anything about my training when I get to the beach. I think I changed it 1 year during COVID, brought my own kettlebells and things like that along. This time I was in Spain for 10 full days and did not go to
because you're in Spain.
Yeah.
You're not in the United States in some other city in some other state, like whatever. It's Spain. It's Europe.
And I'm going to say also, like, we did a lot of walking, a lot of uphill walking.
Oh yeah.
And I came home and pretty much all my clothes were loose. So
yeah, that's what you do. You explore when you're away. That's why Diego and I, we don't do it. We don't train when because we're going to miss so much if we decide to take an hour and a half, and track down a gym and what's the point?
Yeah.
And you're missing out on the actual adventure of being, being away. I mean, if I were going away for like 2 weeks to like the beach, I probably would scout out, something because it's the beach.
Yeah.
But not when you're going to Spain. That's awesome.
Yeah, this was a pretty different type of vacation than the ones that we have typically gone on.
That's wonderful. And were you Barcelona?
No. So we flew in we flew into Malaga through Madrid. That was a whole story because American Airlines broke, and so it took us 2 days to get there.
Oh,
so that was fun. But then when we were in Malaga, that's like on the southern coast, the Costa del Sol. So we went to Gibraltar, Granada, Ronda, lost a day because of the airlines.
Yeah.
Then we flew back up to Madrid and they lost our luggage. And then we spent like 4 days in Madrid and did like a day trip to Toledo.
Okay.
The whole point was that my second oldest is studying in Madrid for the semester. So we got her set up in her apartment and sort of familiar with her neighborhood and
That's so cool.
And all of that. Yeah.
So
it was
cool.
super fun.
Lovely.
Except for the part where the plane broke and we didn't have our luggage.
And then you didn't have your luggage. Exactly. This is why Diego and I have continued to downsize our luggage, and we we bring one suitcase. And that one suitcase holds everything. And he's washing his underwear and washing his shirts and hanging them up in the cruise on the cruise ship. We're hanging them up in our room, and I got into it too. He's like, see, you can do this. I'm like, I'm used to taking like 20 pairs of underwear. I think I took like 10. And I'm quite proud of myself.
all of us, other than my kid who is going to be there for the semester, like she had a bag that was big enough it needed to be checked. The rest of us all had overhead bin sized
Gotcha.
suitcases.
Gotcha.
And that, we get to the front to get to board and they're like, actually, we're going to check your bags. Right.
Oh,
So we weren't trying to check our bags.
Why? Why did they check?
Made us check our bags. And then the thing is they were having a ground crew strike. There was a ground crew strike in Spain.
Oh, God.
And so they just decided not to deliver anybody's luggage. So technically it wasn't lost. They just left it on the runway in Malaga. But yeah, it was a very good lesson. First of all, in packing all of your important stuff in your personal bag.
Yes.
Because they might take your overhead bin bag.
You never know.
But also a very good lesson in how little you actually need.
Yeah.
Like maybe a clean pair of underwear, maybe a clean pair of socks.
Yeah.
You can go days with the same stuff.
I don't think we've checked our luggage since, honestly, since I was in Argentina, since I went to Argentina. And I remember checking luggage then, because I remember the first time I got to, I didn't get to Argentina because we had the plane left, our connecting flight left without us, but my luggage got there. And then the next time I got there, but my luggage was stayed in Miami. So finally it got to me, but it was in Miami when I got there the second time. And the last time it got to Argentina, but I didn't. So that's why I say I hate Florida. I always say I hate Florida and I hate Miami. And Diego's like, you've never been. So I've been to the Miami airport and they've lost my luggage and I don't like Miami. He goes, okay, fine. That's not really why you should like or dislike Miami. I'm like, but I don't, because of that.
So, all right. You realize we prefaced all of this with, we only talk about strength.
Exactly. But we have to sometimes do a little banter, especially since
there was a Rebecca little link there in
Rebecca was in Spain. Well, no, exactly. So we always bring it back to training somehow. Like she didn't go to the gym. Surprise, surprise. Well, that's because she's in Spain.
And I survived. It didn't kill me. Not going to the gym did not kill me.
It doesn't. Again, it's good to have it's always good to have a break. And we've talked about that 1,000 times before. I'll probably talk about it again. But today we'd like to discuss something that actually was brought up by a client of Rebecca's. And it's a topic that I think is on the minds of many people. Inadvertently. Yeah. And I was prone, I admit that I've done this in the past when seeking a trainer, but we wanted to discuss, what does fitness look like? Right. And that's, it's a topic that probably many people agree, disagree. They have their own opinions, and you know what opinions are like. Everybody has, they're like, blah, blah, blah. But what is fitness? Like, what's fitness to us? What's fitness to Rebecca? What's fitness to me? And you might have some comments and some questions about this topic too. So we'd like to kind of just brainstorm, talk a little bit about it, and see kind of what we come up with as we discuss this. What does fitness look like? So when you think about fitness, what comes to mind? Like, let's start there.
Well, but even backing up just a smidge, like the way this came up in the first place was because one of my clients was commenting on a trainer at the gym,
right?
One of the gyms where I work, and basically saying, something along the lines of, he doesn't even look the part, or, that sort of thing. And so I guess, the thing is, this idea of looking fit, a lot of times, we don't even get to the point where we're asking that question that you just asked. What does fit mean to you?
Right.
We just sort of accept as definition the picture or the image of what a magazine, a movie, Muscle and Fitness magazine, like what they hand to us as an example of what fit looks like, without even considering that there's a subjective aspect to it.
Right.
So fitness, to me, it depends on who the person is and what their goals are. Exactly. And so to achieve a strength goal, you might appear a certain way that might typically be more muscular, muscle bound, or that sort of thing. You might have a higher BMI. If your goal is to be a marathon runner, you're going to have a different look or appearance.
Yes.
Most times. And that doesn't mean that there aren't different body types that are able to achieve either of those pretty different goals. Um, and so just the look of fitness,
Right.
first of all, depends on how you're defining it, what the
Right.
goal is.
Right.
And then even within that, there are different body types that can still achieve that goal and be fit for that goal.
Yeah.
So, it's just a matter of like asking that question. What does
Yes.
fit look like for you
Yes.
for your goals?
Yes. And that's when you bring up, like, I like that you brought up what does it mean? What does fit look mean to you in a relationship to in regards to your goals, in regards to what you're trying to get out of your own training, living, whatever it is. It reminds me of that Sports Illustrated. I don't know if it was a magazine article that they had done. They did a number of various stories showing Olympians, female Olympians. I'm going to say female Olympians because, female Olympians and male Olympians too, but, the female body is always kind of scrutinized a little bit more than the male body. So showing the different Olympic lifters, Olympians, not just weightlifters, but, shot put, swimming, track and field, they all have different bodies. They're all fit, extremely fit for their sport. The shot putter is not going to look like the swimmer. The swimmer is not going to look like the weightlifter. The weightlifter is not going to look like the cyclist. Think of the cyclists on the tour, on any bike, a professional bike race. You've got the sprinters who have huge thighs. Why? Because they're the ones who kick it up at the very top of that hill to get, to finish, once they're up the top to finish the race. The climbers are going to be the skinny guys who can do long distance climbs because they have very little body fat. Their thighs are like toothpicks, but they're fit for that sport. They're all fit. And they all may have different body types, but they're all fit for that sport. So it is interesting when we talk about fitness. What do people see in their mind's eye when they think of someone who's fit? They think of someone who's muscular and usually lean, right? Not big, but that's not always the case. So, and you really can't look at somebody and say, oh, that person's fit or not fit based on, honestly, their body type, because you don't know what their goal is. You don't know what their plans are. They might be cutting, they might be trying to gain weight. But so it really is very individual. And it should be like, what does fitness look like to you and mean to you? Because it's not really black and white.
Yeah. And then even when you're talking about that, like the example that you're giving with the cycling, right? That's very specialized. The difference between somebody who's Tour de France, who specializes in sprinting versus, climbing or whatever. And so different body types, even within that same sport. But then if you sort of pull the lens back a little bit and consider how that translates for the general population, people who aren't working at that elite level,
right?
There's going to be, again, still a wide range. And some of those more extreme edges might sort of be sanded down a little bit because fit for the general public usually doesn't involve such intense specialization.
No, exactly.
As those examples that you're giving. So, there's just a lot, usually for an average person, there's a lot of different components that they would like, or their doctor would like for them to consider when they're setting their fitness goals. So sometimes, in strength training, we get tunnel vision about adding more weight to the bar.
Right.
And so we use this definition of being as strong as possible as the definition of fitness, or the ultimate goal.
Right.
And considering that mass moves mass, and sometimes the recommendation is like eat through a plateau, you might end up with somebody who's able to move an incredible amount of weight, but maybe they're also carrying more body fat than their doctor would recommend for them. Maybe that has an effect on their cardiovascular health, or their endurance abilities. just kind of, I think for the average person, that degree of specialization is sometimes not very helpful.
Oh yeah, no, it's not. It's not. I mean, I made, I don't want to say I made a mistake, but back in 2008, right, prior to me discovering the Starting Strength program, prior to becoming a coach, I was still dancing, and I wasn't happy with how I looked. I was in that phase of my life, and I was miserable. I was, and that summer I decided I was going to get a trainer. Well, I was gonna get somebody because I was like, I'm gonna get somebody to help me lose weight and do whatever, right? So I hired somebody from the Merit, and I chose a trainer who looked the way I wanted to look. I picked her out. I was kind of going through the pictures, and she looked very muscular, and she was very lean. And I was like, I want to look like her, so I'm going to choose her because she's going to make me look like her, right? And thinking back and talking to Diego about this. In retrospect, she actually did a good job with me because I did lose weight, but what she taught me was how to eat. And so she did. And even though she was a real space cadet and like missed a bunch of our sessions because she just didn't care. Right. And the training that she was doing with me was very, very, there was nothing progressive about it. Right. It was silly stuff. But man, when she looked at my food log and said, why haven't, where's your food? And I'm like, what? And she's like, where's your protein? I'm like, protein? What's protein? I eat all the time, and I wasn't eating at all. I ended up losing weight and actually feeling really good about myself and realizing that food was more important to this than actually the gym. The gym was supposed to make me feel better, make me stronger, make me move better, whatever. But it was the other portion that what she really helped me with. But I went to her thinking, I'm going to look like her. And it worked out, but it wasn't really what I should have been looking for. I mean, if I were to choose a coach now, I would choose a coach, not a trainer in a sense, right? I would choose somebody who knows the movements, knows the lifts because of what we're involved with now. I would do a little bit better research than just point to somebody who's like, she looks fit. She looks healthy. She looks like she could do the same thing for me. She didn't. But she did at least get me on a better track with food and my relationship with food and what food really meant for me. And then 2 years later, Starting Strength came along, and I kind of combined the two together. And wow!
But also, like, you're kind of describing you having different goals, right?
Exactly.
So at first, your goal was to be lean,
right?
And so in that case, how you're eating and what you're eating
was really the key.
Plays a big part. Like whatever the expression is, like abs are made in the kitchen, right? Like
exactly.
In order to see your abs, you need to be a little, six-pack abs, like people always, talk about or see in the magazines. You've got to be a little bit leaner in order to see them.
Yeah.
And the way you're going to do that is through food. So
and she
your goal is stronger.
Exactly. So, and it was, but at the time, at the time I wanted more of a physique goal, right? I wanted to lose weight, even though I really didn't have much weight to lose. But what she helped me with was learn how to eat. I mean, I learned what a meal was again. And she had me eating more. And I didn't go to her for that, but that really was what I got from my time with her. And now it's more about like, yes, it's I've been able to work on that and develop that for myself, my own nutrition. Now it's focused on the actual, exercising, the training, the lifting. But my goal was I wanted to look a certain way, and she fit the part. So obviously she must know what she's doing, and she can help me. I wouldn't do that today, right? My goals are different. Exactly. Like, as you said, my goals have changed. Yeah. And even if I wanted to look a certain way, even if I wanted to get leaner or look like her, I'm still not going to go. I'm going to go to somebody who is an actual nutritionist and probably has a background in some type of bodybuilding. But I would do a better research. I would do a better job of like looking for somebody who had who would combine everything. And I think that's what people do, right? They'll see maybe personal trainers in a gym, and they'll look at the ones who look fit. Well, what does fit look like? Because you could probably have a great trainer who maybe has a little bit more body fat on them than you think they should have, but they're probably the best trainer, in the gym, and possibly, and you're losing out on that person because you're looking at a certain type, a certain body type that you think is considered fit and strong, and for me. But I think, again, it comes back to the goals. Like, what is your goal? Is your goal to be bigger, smaller, stronger, leaner? And how do you choose?
The point being, like, you're going to encounter people in life who are just naturally lean, the people who are ectomorphs, and it's like that's their genetics. There are plenty of people who work very hard both through nutrition and exercise to achieve a certain level of leanness, and there's plenty of people who are just naturally lean and just sort of ended up that way. Mm-hmm. To assume that someone is fit because they're lean is just as ill-informed, really, as assuming that someone who has more body fat is less fit
and unhealthy. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, similarly, like, just talking about coaches or trainers, a lot of times it's the person who's not the natural athlete, not the person who moves well, not the person who's super lean and stereotypically fit looking, who has had to, through trial and error in their own life, figure things out, learn, and then just as a trainer, as a person who owns a gym, you've had more experience working with a variety of types of people. So, like, doing the research more than just, judging the book by the cover or the trainer experience, finding out about their experience, their own personal training history, their history training other people, their client results, any of that would land you in a better place with a selection of a trainer.
Exactly. People don't come to my gym and see us and decide, oh, well, that coach looks really fit, so they must know what they're doing. No, they know that we know what we're doing because people talk about us and about our experience with us and what they have been able to achieve with us and what they're still, right? That's how it's not how we look. It's not how we look. And I'm thinking back to when I first opened the gym. I was dancing. I started to dance that year again. So I was actually much smaller than I am now. And I almost felt kind of uncomfortable because I was small. And I thought, who's going to take me seriously? Because I don't maybe look like a coach. So I had that feeling way back in 2011 when I opened the gym. I was still relatively small because I had just been doing this for a couple of years and getting in coaching, and I was dancing. So I was probably 20 pounds lighter than I am now, definitely. And I would sometimes, I knew what I was doing. I was trying to get stronger. I was my back was so much better. And I was excited about where I was going to go with my strength gains. But there was this part of me who was like, do I look like I know what I'm doing? And no one ever questioned what I looked like. It wasn't like, well, you're kind of small. I don't think you can teach me how to squat because you probably don't squat that much. That never came up. It wasn't that. But in my mind, sometimes I was like, I got to get bigger in order for people to take me more seriously. But that was it. But that was me, and no one ever questioned that. But I could see, how some people might definitely look at people and say, that person's just way too big. I don't think they know what they're doing. And you have no idea what that person's experience is unless you actually talk to them or talk to clients who have worked with them. And then So it's the judging the book by its cover. It's not a good way to hire somebody. I did that. And it worked out, but that's not what I would do these days. It's looking the part, and you hear that a lot, right? Looking like a trainer, looking like a coach. What does that even mean? I mean, it's hard to say, what does that mean? What's a good coach look like? I don't know. You, me, Diego, Jay.
And what are they coaching, and what's their specialty?
And
just because they sort of have specialized in one area doesn't mean that they don't know about something else. Just the same way as like any individual who comes for training, goes through a lot of people go through different phases in terms of what they're interested in for fitness goals.
Yeah.
So, like, I've gone through an endurance phase, and marathoning phase looked a little different then than I
Right.
look now.
Right.
But same thing with, the people who are, just out, not just trainers, but like just people out there exercising, like
Right.
to look at anyone and say they look fit or not fit. Like what do you know about their goals? Have you talked to them?
They haven't. They haven't. And they have, but because I think you're right, they have in that mind's eye of what the magazine cover looks like and the people in the magazines. That's what fit looks like. So if I don't look like that, I'm not fit. Or if I have more fat on me than that person does, I'm not fit. That doesn't mean anything, right? I mean, having a little bit more body fat on you, it is what it is. Or perhaps a person is going through a bulking phase or something like that. You don't know unless you actually ask them and actually, basically almost interview, right? When people come to the gym, they come for a consultation about what the gym's about. And they see me and they see all these other people in the gym, and they see lots of different bodies, and they see people moving lots of weight. So for many people, they see like just people. They don't see bodies or body types. And in fact, the body types they see probably, or it's better to see like everybody kind of looking different. Not everybody looks the same. The variety. Like this is what fitness is. This is what healthy it looks like. People doing right by themselves, doing strength training, pushing a prowler, whatever it is. This is people taking care of themselves. Right. This is, and whatever their goal is their goal. It doesn't have to be your goal. This person might be trying to lose weight. This might be trying to gain weight. Many people just coming just because they want to be stronger. And after that, as they get into it, maybe their goals change for something else. All right. If I would decide I want to do bodybuilding, I would probably hire a coach who I know has done a lot of bodybuilding and has a lot of experience with it. All right. I'm not going to hire somebody necessarily who looks like that, like what I think I should look like. I don't know what I would look like, but I'm going to hire somebody who's probably done this 1,000 times. And hopefully, I can get good, what's the word I'm looking for? Testimonials, from people who say, yes, this person helped me do X, Y, and Z. Again, not the person maybe who is the leanest or the smallest who actually gets the work done, and helps the most people. It's the person who has really had to really work hard to get to where they are. That's somebody you want to work with, who really kind of knows the ins and outs and can help you navigate things. So it's a tough question.
Well, it's interesting too, because I guess, this whole topic kind of came up with it inadvertently with a client making a comment. And the other thing that I'm thinking about as we're talking about this is that was an older client who made that comment. I hear my kids a lot of times saying things along the lines of, you should just never comment on somebody else's body. Right? Like that's like a generational difference. So this whole idea of what does fit look like might also be just a topic of conversation that shows our age.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I think, I don't even remember how it came up, but it came up in the last week or so where Sadie said something to my husband, like, yeah, really, you should just not comment on people's bodies. Like he was saying something like somebody looked, I guess, sort of along these lines, like somebody looked like they'd been getting, more exercise or was getting more fit or something. She was like, yeah, that's really not a good look to just be commenting on a person's body. Or
that's really interesting. That is, because that is not, what is the young generation, the younger generation of today, what do they see? I mean, what's and
I mean, not to mischaracterize Todd or anything, because by the same token, like we have a neighbor that I know because I have spoken with her, has been working with a nutritionist, and she has lost a considerable amount of weight. And Todd noticed that, like people notice if you drop 30 pounds, but he was like, just to me, like, I feel like something's changed, but I'm not going to say anything because I think that's rude.
Well, I think you have to remind, like, I think that's how you have to know the person that you're talking to know if it's okay to remark about their weight loss or maybe weight gain if they're trying to get, put on weight. Because at my gym, it's usually some of the guys, my underweight guys who are putting on weight. I'm going to comment and say, hey, thighs are getting bigger, because they want to hear that.
Because you're part of the process.
I'm part of the process.
You know the goal.
I know the goal. And then I have a couple clients who have been trying to lose weight, and in not like to the entire gym, but like just on the side, I'll look and I'll say, hey, I just want to say to you, you're looking really good. And the comment was, oh, yeah, I've dropped 12 pounds. Well, I knew I could say that because that person has been wanting to do that. That was a goal, did it on their own. So you have to know the person. I'm not going to just walk up to anybody. I know who I can talk to about that and acknowledge. And the acknowledgement is received positively because that's something that they've been working on. That's a goal. Mm-hmm. But that's, you have to know the person. You definitely have to know the person. Or you can comment, in privately about somebody, of course. I mean, that's, we all do that. So-and-so, has lost a lot of weight. I can't believe it, And if you don't know that person though, keep it to yourself. But if it's kind of known, and if the person's been talking about this, it's kind of, there's maybe an acknowledgement that people want to hear it. They want to hear that their hard work is paying off. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you know that you're in the right to say that. That's where a lot of people, go wrong. And older people sometimes will just say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, no filter, no thought beforehand about should I or shouldn't I.
Yes,
I'm going to say it. I thought it.
And sometimes you just kind of nod your head and go, okay, thanks. and move on. I mean, if I get commented or complimented about my body, I just nod my head, if someone says, hey, it looks like you've lost some weight, I might acknowledge that and say, yeah, actually I have, I've been cutting. Or, they may not say I've gained weight, and they can say that too. I'll be like, well, okay, thank you. But, I think you have to know the person. You definitely have to know that, and within, the context of what you're talking about. But fitness, being fit, usually the word bulky kind of sometimes will come up, in conversation with people if they're new people coming to the gym who are looking to join. And you hear this usually from women, like they're nervous about lifting weights. They don't want to get too big. And I'll stop and I'll say, well, am I too big? And they go, oh, no, you look fine. And I'm like, well, you seem bulky. I'm like, I'm trying to like not completely tear them down with that. Say, don't say that. Just try to like get an idea of like, well, what do you mean by that? What's your vision of fitness, yeah. of bulkiness?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that brings up the point too. A lot of people do start going to the gym with fitness as a secondary concern and aesthetics as a primary concern. Sure. They want to change something about their appearance. And so, I mean, it's all tied in together. I guess, the point is you can't assume that you know anything about somebody's fitness level by their appearance. Right. Because fitness for a certain strength training goal is going to look very different than fitness for a running goal or
And sometimes it's really, it's hard to, look at someone and say, oh, they must not be strong because of how they look. Because there are a lot of people who they may not have a lot of muscle on them and they might not be that big, but they're freaking strong as crap. And that's just, and then you see them move and you're like, holy crap, I didn't think that they could move that kind of weight. They don't look like they could. Well, what is it looking like? It comes back to, well, what do you can't look at somebody and decide that person's strong, that person's weak, that person's fit, that person's not, based on just outward appearances. Yeah.
And then you get into the whole idea of like a lot of times people's primary care doctors, the one that's encouraging them to go get exercise, right?
Yes.
The doctor's probably looking at a whole lot of other things that don't show up in terms of aesthetics or appearance numbers, in terms of, like your blood screen profile or your heart health or your blood pressure or any of those things, which you can't see or judge by appearance.
No, you can't. I was thinking about just that, that someone could have great blood work, but may have, more fat on their body than you have, or you think they should have. And yet you don't know anything necessarily about them
until you
Right.
actually see them
Yeah.
move or see them, and why should you? It's not your body.
Or somebody who is incredibly muscular and lean, but got that way because they were taking steroids and like they, wrecked a whole lot of their internal systems in the process.
Or somebody who has cancer, as
Mm.
in the case of my sister, and lost a lot of weight. And people look at her and say, there's no way you could have cancer. You look so good.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, but inside I'm dying, like literally. And I hurt, and you can't see that I hurt, but you're so thin. Yeah. How did you get, and you don't know how that person got thin if you don't know their, if you don't know their story. So that's the whole point of like, yeah, like who was it who said that, Felicia, or who said
Sadie,
who said, yeah, who said, you may not want to say that. I mean, because a lot of, you hear that a lot, people who don't look sick, they look so good. But would you say that if she had more weight on her, like if she had more weight on her, would she look not as good? and she still has cancer? I mean, it's you don't know what's going on with that person. And you can sometimes get an idea of someone's fitness level or health level or whatever just by touching them. Diego was working with a client member years ago, and we were doing wall slides, right? Put your arms up against a wall for like some mobility work. And he was helping her, and he put his hands on her forearms to help her guide her arms up. He said his hands just went right through her flesh. And it was like he was touching like Eleanor when she was 4 years old. So there was no muscle there.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that, like doughy.
It was like doughy, and he was just, and it kind of weirded him out because it was a young 20, late 20s, young woman, and he just couldn't tell. You look at her and you're like, oh, she looks so fit, but there was actually no muscle on her frame whatsoever. And not to say that muscle makes you fit too, but it's just, appearances. And what equals fit, what doesn't equal fit, again. And I think it comes back to, you as a person, what is your, you focusing on what you want, what you need, your goals, and not looking at someone else as their goals must be, or not your goals. Well, they're not, they're their goals. So don't try to think that person must be doing something wrong. Not necessarily. You don't know what they're doing. So, yeah. And
it's just interesting. You were talking about their health, overall health. And I guess, those two things often get lumped together. They are different. Like your fitness really is like your fitness, your ability to do a particular task or reach a certain goal that's based in a physical accomplishment, right? Like whatever that, usually a sport or, something along those lines. But your health is so much more than that. It's not just your fitness, your strength, your endurance, but heart health, your blood work,
blood pressure.
Thinking about like immunity, like your immunity system. Like if you're not getting enough protein, if you're not taking good care of yourself, if you're not getting good sleep, your immune system suffers, and then you go from one cold to the other, even though you're like really strong, or you can run 10 miles every day or whatever it is, so like your quality of life and your ability to not get knocked on your ass by a germ. It also factors in, but I guess that's more health as opposed to fitness. And I don't know that we really look at people and think that we can judge their health. No. But we do that with fitness. We'll assume that we can judge fitness by appearance. But
yeah. Like I think, you look at Manny and you wouldn't think that man could, has a 365-pound deadlift in him. But he does. I mean, he's a very strong and very fit, 75-year-old. And, but he kind of, and he likes that. He likes knowing that, the way he looks doesn't tell the whole story. Throws people off. Exactly. Throws people off. Doesn't tell the whole story. Or looking a certain way can, definitely make people kind of nervous of you. So this was Jay was on his way to the gym a couple of days ago, and he got rear-ended when he was driving.
Cool.
And he said that, and it was a hit and run. They got the guy. It was a work truck. Everything's been taken care of. But he said that what happened was he got hit. He stopped. The car stopped. The truck stopped. But then when he got out of the car and started to walk over towards the truck, the person took off.
Oh, wow.
And so Diego said, were you wearing your flannel shirt and your fleece vest that you always wear? And Jay said, and the boots. So basically he said he got out of the car looking real manly. And he's got the beard and the shaved head. He looked scary as shit probably. So the kid was like, oh crap, this guy's gonna tear me up. And I said, the funny thing is Jay probably was walking up to him to say, hey man, are you okay? He didn't expect the guy to take off. His appearance was totally deceiving to this guy. He didn't look like, and he says, yeah, I'm getting out of a Kia. I look really threatening. But his appearance, and I guess the way he was holding himself and walking, made that guy really like frantic. He scared him. He scared him. So that his appearance was quite deceiving to that person, and then he took off. Maybe if he'd gotten out of the car and he didn't look that way, the guy wouldn't have taken off because he was like, oh, I can get this guy. This guy's not going to do anything to me. But I think looking the way Jay looked, he kind of scared the guy off. But luckily everything, worked out and they found him. But yeah, the appearance of looking a certain way, can throw you off. So someone like Jay, who's really actually so nice and sweet, but you look at him and he looks a little like, he could rip me up if he wanted to, which is positive for Jay. It means Jay's been doing a good job in the gym. But that's the appearance is going to be deceiving. This is a topic we could go on and on about because there's a lot to.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go on and on, but I don't know that we would.
We don't need to. No, we don't need to. I think just, in general, we need to really think more about what our goals are. And if we see somebody, not automatically assume that they might know what they're talking about because they look a certain way. You don't know until you actually talk to the person or see or learn about what their individual goals are. Stick with what you want, right? You are the person who decides, in a sense, what kind of fitness level you want to be at or what you want to look like, aesthetically. No one's going to try to change your mind unless you want to change your mind about that. And like I said, I would definitely do a better research job of finding someone if I wanted to look a certain way. But even then, that was me in 2008 when Diego asked me, well, what do you want to look like? I said, I don't know. I just don't want to look like me. That was a real low point in my life because I didn't know what I did. I wasn't happy with how I looked and I just felt like there's no way that I'm healthy because I'm not small. That's the furthest thing from my mind now. But that was definitely me then. And I don't know if that might be other people too, thinking that there's a certain way they have to look in order to be perceived as being fit. And that just, that needs to go away.
Yeah. And I guess as you get older too, you realize that the people that are assuming certain things based on your appearance are not really the people you want to be hanging out with much anyway. Exactly. You learn a lot about yourself and you grow up, you mature. Being old isn't that bad all the time. There's some benefits.
There's some benefits. And this is definitely one of those benefits where it's like, yes, do I care about my appearance? Yes. But I don't care how other people perceive me. I'm not looking for their approval. I don't need your approval. If I'm content, if I'm happy, I'm not going to, do anything that's going to be completely out of this world, but there's a nice sense of I know who I am now and I'm content with, what I'm doing. And if I decide to change my mind and do something different, I can do that too. So I think we can pretty much end there. It might be interesting though, if anybody who's listening to the podcast this one in particular and has comments or maybe a story or, questions about what we talked about, something we didn't address, we'd love to hear from you because it always helps us kind of guide our conversations better. So you can always email me at emily@5by3.com with any questions or comments or concerns. And you can also reach out to Rebecca.
Oh, at cornerstonestrengthmaryland@gmail.com.
I know I put that in the end too, but sometimes I think people don't go all the way to the end. They might just turn it off once we say goodbye. So always nice to give you our emails just so you have it if you're not listening to the end of the podcast with me thanking you for listening today. But feel free to contact us. Charm City Strong Woman registration opens in a couple weeks. So February 7th, we're opening.
I saw you're doing Stone to Shoulder.
We're doing Stone to Shoulder. That's our second event. First event is the tire toss. It's going to be an interesting year. Jesse has it all planned. We have a kind of a theme this year with the contest. So I won't spill the beans until we get to the registration day. But that's coming up on June 9th. And we'll start our fundraising campaign around end of April, beginning of May, as always, since we moved it to June. So anybody who's looking to, participate or donate when we come around to asking for donations, keep us in mind is all proceeds go to the Ullman Foundation and the Ullman House. Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks for being with us today. Thank you. And we hope to be back in a couple weeks. We'll see you then for our next topic, whatever that might be. So, I always have to say that because
I know for 4 years I'm like, don't say that we don't know what we're talking about next.
I'm
Just
kidding.
Say we'll see you next week.
I'm kidding. We'll see you next week.
Catch you next time.
Catch you on the flip side.
All right.
Have a great week, everybody. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thanks for listening to 5x3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5x3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's F-I-V-E, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.